It is fair to say the season has not gone the way the Isles were hoping. There are a handful of teams that have been through, I'll call it a roller coaster season so far. With that being said, we're going to do what we call make or break. So, gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys a team, give you an upcoming stretch coming up after the holidays, and you're going to tell us whether it's a make or break stretch and how much of a make or break stretch it is. We'll start with the Islanders. We jump to January 13th to February 1st. Looking at a team with 10 out of 11 home games. Stu, you're up first. How much of a make or break is this?
Oh, I think this is a really important stretch of hockey for the New York Islanders. I mean, if you think of it in these terms, that's a lot of home dates to be playing. And here's the interesting thing. This is not necessarily, EJ, a set of confines, a venue where they've established an identity, established a routine even. They're rather new to the UBS Center. The Isles are. So, in most cases, we've been saying, gosh, great to get back to familiar confines. Not necessarily the case for the Isles, but some important games, some winnable games on the docket. If you look at some of the competition,
I would say so.
Some winnable games in there. But you got to win them. You got to win them. They're on the schedule, but a challenging schedule nonetheless, given the lack of familiarity with this particular building.
Yeah, the Islanders. We all know the story, the COVID issues they've had, and the injury problems they've had to some important players as well has really hurt this group. All these home games in a row. This will be the time, right?
Yeah.
That will make it. I mean, the season you could say may have already been break, but this could be a chance to fix and to get back into the mix. So that is a bunch of home games. As you point out, some winnable games on that schedule. If they get their group healthy, you get on a little bit of a run. That could be a good thing.
And it relates to the offense for the Islanders. They've defended exceptionally well. I mean, if you look at their goals against, the total goals against they've allowed, they're better defensively than every team in the Central Division. It's the inability to generate offense that has really hurt this group. The big guys need to get going.
EJ, take us to the Canucks now, December 27th to January 25th. Our guy Bruce is over there. You used the word fix before. Right now, it looks like he's fixing things. How much of a make or break is this stretch?
Yeah, we just had Bruce Boudreau joined us on NHL Now yesterday, and he did make a point of talking about this stretch where they have a lot of games on the road. And he pointed out in particular to us, I can't wait to go to Florida, then Tampa, then Carolina, then the Capitals, then the Preds, then the Panthers again. The Blues. Here's the Oilers. I mean, that is a really rough schedule, and a bunch of those games are on the road. So it is going to be challenging for the Vancouver Canucks. They did get themselves in a hole early on in the season. Bruce Boudreau has them playing much better now, 6-0 under Boudreau. It's kind of a mixed bag almost with this stoppage because you had momentum, but on the other hand, they were starting to miss some players too. I would say that they're going to have to win a good number of these games. The early ones, they're division games, and they're winnable. Think about those first four, Stu, right?
Really important.
Those four games right there. That sets you up moving forward for a much tougher stretch after that.
Good thing for the Canucks. I mean, under Bruce, and, this has been well documented, they've got their swagger back. The Pedersens, the Horvats, they're much more dynamic up front, and that's made a difference. But I mean, when we get into January 11 through the late stages of January, that's a gauntlet.
The bear.
That is a gauntlet. I mean, if you're looking at that going, if we can come out of this block of games 500, we're in great shape. And get your share in here.
If Thatcher Demko is playing well in this stretch, that'll be great news for the Vancouver Canucks, because he'll have to be.
Glinner's producing today. He listed the Kings December 27th to January 30th. So, Stu, take it away.
Kings through...
Your former club.
Yeah, the 27th of December, going through January 30th.
I had a good year there. I really like that year there. Kind of a similar setup for the Kings, if you think about it. This is some key Pacific Division stuff right there. 4-point games, 3 of them right out of the gate. 3 times 4 being a 12-point swing. Kings have showed some swagger early. They've had their rough patches throughout. But again, not a daunting schedule, not to the degree I don't think that Vancouver is facing necessarily, but an opportunity here really through essentially a month and a bit for the Kings to tell us, are you a playoff, contender, or are you a pretender of sorts?
Well, that first column there, you'll notice, those are all home games for the most part. They started the Coyotes, but then that's a long stretch of home games till you get down to the Kraken, and then you mix in some road games, and then they take off on that eastern swing, and they'll have some games certainly in the Northeast. And the LA Kings schedule, what's interesting, it usually does shift because in that building where they play, the Staples Center, you have the basketball teams in there, and also I believe they have the Grammys in there at a certain point of the year. So it is a busy building. So thus, they have that long road trip that comes usually late January into February. So I would say with this, make it happen for yourselves at home. I think that's what they'll have to focus on.
And I would say that's one of the themes, right? Home is where the heart is. So for the Bruins, January 4th to January 24th, you're looking at 8 out of, 10? 8 out of 11 home games. So, EJ, you go first on this one. What do you view with them as?
Well, what's going to be interesting with the Bruins is, where are they going to be roster-wise at that point? And in particular, will Tuukka Rask be a Boston Bruin when we get into the midst of this, because he's been practicing and there's all the thinking that he will come back to the Bruins. But when you look at the schedule here, again, a little bit of a mixed bag with home and road games, some division games that you got to take care of business in. The Boston Bruins, it's an interesting year for them, Stu, because the roster has changed a little bit. David Krejci out of the mix. They've been searching for that secondary scoring.
Yeah.
The defense is behind McAvoy. A little bit more challenge this year, it seems. And the goaltending's been up and down. When it's been good, Swayman has been terrific for them. So for the Boston Bruins, I would say, again, that's like a tight group there of teams in that, battling for the last spot or so in the Eastern Conference. This will probably be an important segment of their schedule.
If you go back to their last finals appearance versus the Blues 3 years ago, this team, the Boston Bruins, is kind of a whisper, a shadow of that team we saw back then. They checked all the boxes going all the way back then. At goaltending, you've kind of gone through it, EJ. Defense, forwards, they were much more dynamic. That top group really hasn't lit it up like they've done so in the past. And again, as is the bane for many clubs out there, where is the secondary? Where is the deeper scoring going to come from? Key question for these Bruins, absolutely, if they're going to be part of the mix out east.
I think all these teams are looking at really break situations. It is make or break, absolutely, for them, because they're all in different battles, some worse than others.
Right on.
Here's what I can tell you guys. That was not a make or break segment for you two, but if it was, you've been made. You guys can stay, all right?
Is he rating us?
All right.
Is he rating us?
I've been told I'm
guys come in here and
like
just start pushing. When people start coming in here and pushing us around, especially with this guy here, trouble could ensue. So you might want to stay tuned.
Listen, you guys messed with me. You're both wearing ties. I'm not. I'm all loosey-goosey here, all right? I'm getting ready for the holidays.